Many people have need to align objects, create mock-ups, or add interesting borders or effects to their images. To do all of that, you'll need to master rulers, guides, and grids. Let's start by taking a look at the built-in grid. Go to your View menu, choose Show, Grid. This is quite distracting at first, so let's make it far easier to use. This is one of my favorite tips that has worked in many versions of Photoshop. On the PC, you would go to your Edit menu and Preferences, and Guides, Grid, and Slices. On the Mac, Photoshop, Preferences, Guides, Grid, and Slices. And to make this grid far less busy, I'll scoot the window over a bit. And instead of a grid line every inch, I'm going to change 1 to 50. And instead of every 50 inches, I'm going to choose percent. This was added 10 or more years ago to Photoshop. Now these lighter lines you're seeing are the subdivisions. I only want one subdivision. And now, when I click OK, I could see the dead center of every image that I open as long as I have my grid on. How you can use this is to add burned corners or borders or edges. So I'm going to show you a photography trick that they call burning the corners, or my method to create it. I'll go to the Marquee tool, and with the rectangular marquee, usually you click and hold to make a selection. If you've got an accelerated video card, you get those new rich cursors showing you the width and height. Clicking outside deselects. But I want to use my grid, so I'll line this plus sign that is my cursor up to the dead center, the intersection of the grid lines, and I'll hold down Option on the Mac or Alt on Windows and make a selection from the center out. As I drag, with Option or Alt held down, and let go of my mouse first, then Option or Alt, my selection is nice and even around my image. If you let go of Option or Alt before your mouse, your image may jump or the selection area may jump on you. So make sure you always let go of your mouse first. Now, I'm going to use a popular effect from the Select menu, Modify, and Feather. Feather will soften or graduate the edges of this selection area that I've drawn. So I'm going to use a very large feather of 150 pixels. This number varies greatly depending on the resolution of your image, but 150 should work for this photo. So I'll click OK, and you'll see the edges of my rectangle are now very rounded corners. Before I apply the effect, I need to do two things. Firstly, I'm going to make a new layer so that I don't harm the original photo. Under the Layer menu, I chose New Layer, and I'll name this Black. And I'll click OK or hit Return or Enter. Second, I'll choose Select Inverse. Select Inverse grabs only the outside areas. You could tell you've got the opposite or the inverse because the marching ants are here at the edge and then inside here. Now, I'm ready to choose Edit Fill. And once I do Edit Fill, instead of the foreground color, I'll choose black. When I click OK, now I've got nice depth along the edge of this photo, calling attention to this gorgeous shot of the statue. I'll choose Select and Deselect, and if I want this effect to be softer, I can dial down the opacity. If I find the guides or grid lines distracting, I can go to View, Show, Grid to hide them. And here is the effect, calling the focal point of the image right to that statue. I love this. The next effect I'm going to use is to make it look like a light is shining on this model's face. And before I do, I want to draw in some guides around her face. So I'll go to View and choose Rulers. And you can see the shortcut Command-R or Control-R. I'll go to my Move tool, the top tool in the toolbar, and I'll simply draw a few guidelines around her face, getting in the hash marks of the ruler and dragging down for a horizontal guide, or in the hash marks where the numbers are on the left ruler and dragging to your right. If you create a grid line or guide you don't want, simply drag it back to the ruler. And I'll move this one down a little bit. Now I'll use the same trick I did earlier, but this time I'll use an elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to move to the rough center of my grid lines, hold down Option or Alt and make a selection of her face from the center out. You can actually let go and move that selected area if you aren't happy with the result. And I'll do the same thing I did earlier. Select, Modify, Feather. Once I choose Feather, I'll do the 150 again, which softens or blends the edge. Now I'll do Layer, New Layer, name it Black, and I'll choose Edit, Fill with Black again, and click OK. Now I forgot a step, and I often like to leave these in the video so that you could see if you forgot a step, something bad may happen. Here's the step that was missing. I'll undo that, and now select the inverse. If I fill with black, it's only filling inside her face. I want the opposite. I want all the background darkened so her face looks like it has a spotlight on it. Once I've done the Select Inverse, it's now safe to do Edit, Fill, leave it on Use Black, and click OK. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so a quick way to hide everything is to go to the View menu and choose Extras. View Extras will show the grid line or the marching ants. If I look back under View and uncheck Extras, now everything is hidden. And I can lighten the opacity of that black layer and notice how it looks like a spotlight is shining on her face. And that is our tour of adding guides, a grid, and using the rulers. Now that you've seen how they work, get out there and try some of these effects on your own images.